Welcome back to Market on Close. A 70% drop over 6 months that now is starting to turn in the opposite direction. I want to bring in Scott Bauer as we break away from the macro stock talk for a day. Scott, all right, who we kidding? We talk about crypto, you and I, quite a bit. So, what do you think about this move up off the low, Mr. Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy?
The train has left the station. No, I'm just kidding here. It's quite an impressive move, but you know, a couple things to keep in check here. First of all, it's not just a one-off that the fact this rally has really coincided with some news coming out of Japan from the Bank of Japan about their central bank continuing their easing policy. And the reason I say that, Oliver, if you look at the dollar value of this rally from 6,000 up to 8,000, the majority of the dollar value in Bitcoin was bought using the yen. So there is some thought, there is some theory to Japanese investors or people hedging the yen with Bitcoin. I'm not saying that is what is all behind this rise, but you know what? The numbers don't lie. So there is something there.
So where do you get those numbers, Scott? How do you figure that out, what people use to buy Bitcoin?
You don't at this point. You really don't. What I'm looking at, though, here, honestly, here at the CME, look at the volume today. Over 11,000 contracts have traded today. I think this actually may be a record for contracts in a day here at the CME. So the volume is back. The euphoria, I would say, though, is subsided. It is not like it was back in December where, you know, your cab driver, the grocer, everyone was saying, okay, what's Bitcoin now? Where am I buying? We're not seeing that, which is a really good thing. And what's very, very interesting is I think it's at an all-time record now. Bitcoin is now 47% of the entire crypto space. The altcoins, a lot of these altcoins have not really followed along this rally over the last couple weeks.
So here's what we're looking at. In fact, we got this for you here, Scott. I'm just grabbing this from coinmarketcap.com. Bitcoin there with the yellow shaded portion and the orange line, as you point out. It's about where we were sort of at the very start of the year in the first iteration of the sell-off. But to your point here, and I find this to be arguably the more compelling part of this as well, because you and I have talked about the importance of sussing all the junk out. You know, I will say, Scott, you basically have some degree of correlation maybe breaking apart here, but at the same time, we do get, you know, a VIX that's now today dips below 12. The market's rallying. How much is sentiment and a little bit of risk-taking appetite perhaps creeping in here?
You know, I think as we see our equity markets continue to just kind of drift higher, right? Not explode higher, but we have been just kind of drifting higher, and the VIX coming down. I think you are seeing an appetite for some more risk premium. Now, I don't think that's the rise that we've seen from 6,000 to 8,000 here, but there's no question that the risk appetite is out there. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens now that our 10-year is almost at 3%. And now there may be an alternative to, you know, to some of the risk appetite of people here. Do we start to see some of the money that at least is coming from U.S. dollars start to come away and maybe go into bonds? You know, who knows? But this rally, though, really is centered around Bitcoin. And what that tells me, Oliver, is moving forward, we are not going to see this euphoria of all these altcoins that came out and everybody getting in and texting one another and saying, woohoo, I got in at 13 cents, it's trading 84 now. You know, that sort of thing. Underpinning Bitcoin also to really break down, let's call it some of the fundamentals, though. This year to date, Bitcoin transfers have accounted for over $2 trillion. But most important to me, what I'm looking at is the fact that the Bitcoin transaction fee has gone from about $10 a pop down to about 30 cents. So it is scaling so quickly, just like we see, you know, most industries, you know, just kind of revolutionize themselves and really advance. This is scaling so quickly that who knows? I mean, it's anyone's guess, but who knows? This could become a mainstream currency in the next 18 to 24 months.
All right, Scott, one more point here that I want to bring up, because we do see the dominance come back a little bit within Bitcoin, but it's far from the market that, you know, it needs to be to get rid of all the trash, right? Because you still have $150 million of market cap out there, which is roughly half.
Yes.
So my question is, even though we do see that move up. One more look at the chart, guys. We've seen bounces off this level before, Scott. Is there reason to think that this is different and not just a lower high that's about to be made?
Well, the thing I really like about it is now seeing the volume trade, especially in the futures market, which, for the last, I'm going to say 4 months, the average daily futures volume has probably been 2,000 to 3,000 contracts.
Yeah.
So there is heightened interest right now. But again, it's a lot of institutional money that's coming in now also, Oliver. It is not our friends. It is not the random person that you meet on the street just trying to get a little piece of this, sky high, pie in the sky type of investment. So there's smart money coming into it. I'm not saying that this rally is the end all be all or that we're going to hold the 8,000 level, but there's a lot of factors to really sustain this level or at least trade in this area that could be the start of the next move up.
Yeah.
Everybody looks to 10,000. I don't know that that's going to happen. That's a psychological number, but what's going on right now, it's kind of hard to discount it, especially with news about ETFs possibly coming out soon. It's becoming very mainstream.
All right, there we go. September is when the SEC is going to follow up on that a little as they push it back. But to your point, Scott, I do have to say, for those waiting for that, whiff of the institutional buyer, the volume for the futures market, definitely supportive of it. So perhaps a change of tone on who's interested. All right. We're going to keep looking at it. Interesting stuff. Scott Bauer joining us, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. You've been playing ball with us on the Bitcoin front since day one. Always great to have Scott here. All right, up next, it's time for the closers panel. We're going to be talking about a lot of the tariff-related companies because tomorrow, and yesterday and today, a lot of companies that should be getting hurt from these tariffs. Are they? We're going to find out. We're going to talk about the larger macro picture in just a sec on the TD Ameritrade Network.